This week, we're going to be talking about a 90s art movement called Relational Aesthetics. But in order to understand Relational Aesthetics, we're going to have to do a really quick tour of art history. Art was once designed to connect humans to the divine. Then, as society shifted away from religion and towards science, art's new role was to explore ourselves and our place in the world. Once the Industrial Revolution kicked off and photography was invented, art's role changed once again. This time, it was much more interested in exploring our inner worlds and our perceptions of reality. Then we entered a post-industrial age, and art reflected the language of the consumer culture we'd created. And as the art market grew and tried to commodify everything, art responded by dematerializing and exploring the world of ideas and concepts. Art can be thought of as a game, and each time society changes in a significant way, the rules of the game of art change to reflect the new society. So eventually the 90s came around, and the 90s was an odd time, and I think it's fair to say it produced some pretty odd art. In the 90s, the internet was becoming a thing. Video games were rapidly improving. Rave culture was big. Modernism, with its utopian ideas and its belief that it could change the world, was dead. Thatcher and Reagan had left behind a culture of individualism. The Soviet Union had fell, and capitalism was the only game in town. And the art market was booming. It was in this context that the French curator Nicholas Bourriaud wrote the most important art theory text of the 90s and coined a new term, Relational Aesthetics. To put it simply, Relational Aesthetics were artistic practices that use human interaction as the material. Under Relational Aesthetics, the artist is more of a facilitator, and the audience's interaction with each other becomes the art. Here are some examples of Relational Aesthetics. Rikrit Tiravanija would transform the gallery into a kitchen and would cook noodles for the viewers. Tino Sehgal would have performers waiting in each room of the gallery, ready to approach you and tell you a story as you entered. Jeremy Deller reenacted the Battle of Orgreave in the same location as the original battle, including many participants who were present at the actual battle. And Tanya Bruhera gets police mounted on horseback to practice crowd control techniques at the Tate Modern. It was no surprise that relational aesthetics arrived in the 1990s. The internet was threatening to make face-to-face communication more and more unnecessary, and we were spending more of our lives in front of a screen. Relational aesthetics, on the other hand, prioritized face-to-face real interactions on a local level. In a time of intense individualism, relational aesthetics was trying to build communities. Bourriaud described these relational artworks as micro-utopias. This idea of building micro-utopias was very popular in the 90s and the 2000s. The early internet, video games, and rave culture were all trying to be micro-utopias, small private escapes from the cold reality of neoliberal capitalism. In the absence of modernism and its big attempts to change society, culture focused on building micro-utopias instead. Relational aesthetics was not a perfect movement. It talked a big game about how it was reconnecting society and revolutionizing the experience of going to a gallery and democratizing the experience of art. But at the end of the day, it was kind of still the same privileged, overeducated people turning up to the gallery and just doing some sort of random activity. With that being said, I myself did attend a recreation of Tino Sehgal's Relational Aesthetics piece. I can't remember what it was called. It's the one where you walk into the gallery space and someone comes up to you and tells you a story, and then you move into the next room and another person comes up to you and tells you a story. And you just walk through the space and people just keep walking up to you and telling you stories. I really enjoyed that artwork. It felt very magical and I felt very inspired afterwards. I can't really say why exactly. It was just very different and it had a good vibe about it. What I've concluded is that at its best, relational aesthetics is a very wonderful experience and a fresh way of doing art. But At its worst, I can imagine that it's actually quite an awkward and uncomfortable experience where you're forced to talk to people you don't really want to talk to. By the way, if you like my videos and you feel like you get value from my content, then please subscribe, and if you can afford it, please consider becoming a patron. It would be a huge help to me, as it would help me to make more videos like this one, and I would be eternally grateful. As the 90s rolled into the 2000s, relational aesthetics morphed into something called participatory art, which is similar but much more focused on community engagement and providing benefit to society. In 2012, the art critic Claire Bishop wrote a book called Artificial Hells, where she harshly critiqued participatory art for its hypocrisy. I actually made a whole video about that book, and if you're interested, I would recommend you go and watch it. That's what the thumbnail looks like. At this point, it has loads of different names: relational aesthetics, participatory art, social art. The boundaries have kind of blurred, and it all kind of means the same thing. Whatever it's called now, I think it's kind of run out of steam, which is fair enough. There are only so many gallery dinners and strange activities people want to do in the gallery before they get bored. Nonetheless, if you are interested in contemporary art, I would recommend you read this book. It's called Relational Aesthetics by Nicholas Bourriaud. It was a very significant book that came out in 1996, I believe, which defines this new category of art and contextualizes it within the 90s. It is a very challenging read. I did struggle with a few pages, but it's only 100 pages, so, I would give it a try if I was you. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching till the end.